Welcome in. It's the Second Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and tonight we are recapping the Sony Open. Looking forward to the Amex. Maybe we'll chat a little TGL, and maybe we'll chat a little overtime football as we are trying to figure out the final team, Greg, who's going to be in the conference championship weekend. Unsettled business in the NFL.
Unsettled business for sure. Couple teams look really good, but I felt this way all year in the NFL. I have no clue who's going to win.
Somebody asked me who was good. Like 2 months ago, someone was like, who's good? And I was like, I don't know. Everybody kind of like, nobody's great and everybody's good. I don't know. It's like 15 teams that can win it.
Yeah. And even some of the teams that missed the playoffs, like Mark's Falcons, if they had made the playoffs, who knows what would have happened. Football is crazy. And by the way, so is the PGA Tour.
Yeah, there is technically unfinished business on the PGA Tour because there's two guys playing 18 right now, but they will not factor into the outcome of this event. Let's start in the dumps, and then we'll work our way up to happier times. Davis Riley played in the final group today, Greg. He went out with a multiple shot lead going into the final round, and it was pretty nasty from the start. Just bogey on 6, bogey on 7, double on 8. He was just never really in this tournament.
You know, I think that's a pretty good start. The first 5 holes, right? You get a couple birdies there. It's like the broadcast comes on and Davis Riley's at 13 under. You're like, well, oh, okay. This is kind of what he does. Like he has this ability to. I was thinking about it when it first came on. Is he a popper, like a closer? Are we going to see this for the rest of the year? And then you see a couple 3-putts in a row and the double at 8 after the tee shot. I mean, that was kind of a bad break. They were saying on the broadcast they thought it would just be in the rough. It ends up in the penalty area. Then he makes double. So it got disappointing very quickly as some of the other players were moving up. He was moving back.
I hate to say this was coming, but did you see his numbers going into the final round of?
Yes.
Yeah. He was
right
losing to green. He was gaining 11 strokes with the putter. This was bound to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, 11 shots with the putter.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to the grid, which is pathetic.
With a capital P.
Yeah. I had a tough opening week as far as my predictions went. But look, you don't know what happened in the offseason. It's a really hard week to pick. Anyway, I was thinking, well, even this week, even the model is broken. Look, when he was through 5 holes, he's at 13 under. I'm like, this doesn't hold up. But it does this week. Like everything that's up is down and everything that's down is up and the sky is red. I couldn't figure this week out. But at least the model did catch up. Not that I was rooting for it, but it did in this case.
There is still only one golfer in ShotLink history to win a PGA Tour event while losing strokes from tee to green. And that was Kevin Na did it at TPC Summerlin in, I think it was 2019. He gained like 12 strokes putting or something outrageous.
Right.
And
wild.
There's actually technically, before people get into my menchies, that's a full field. Like it's happened at like with 2 measured rounds or something like that or what, but like a full field proper 4 ShotLink rounds. It's Kevin Na's the only guy to ever do it.
And I guess Shriners, you could probably hit 55 greens and lose shots tee to green.
Yeah.
And just fill it up because everybody's hitting greens there. They're not playing there anymore, but used to be that way.
Round of the day, a 7 under 63. That goes to Robert MacIntyre. And Greg, the scoring conditions, I'll say they were much better today, and that might be putting it lightly. By far the best scoring average of the week, a hair better than 2 shots under par. Robert MacIntyre takes advantage to shoot a 7 under 63. As you can imagine, it was bogey free. What's the state of the union on Robert MacIntyre? I'm always kind of up in the air on him. I find him to be an incredibly talented player. I think is he he good? Is he great? Is he what's the deal with Robert?
Well, he has made a huge change in the way that he goes about it. And I learned about this. I felt very much like you, Rick, before the U.S. Open last year. Even during the U.S. Open last year, but in his press conference after the U.S. Open, he made some fascinating comments where he talked about how it used to be just golf was golf. He'd go play, and sometimes he'd play well, and sometimes he wouldn't. When he didn't, he'd get mad. When he did, he'd be happy. And what they started to do, he and his team, they started to turn over every stone and really figure out and understand why he was doing what he was doing. And he said, everything that I'm doing now, he said this at the U.S. Open, so it clearly happened well before that. Everything that I'm doing now has a purpose, and everything that I'm doing now has a reason. And I know why I play well when I play well. I know why I struggle when I struggle. And I think that's really what you see here this week. You see the round to like 70 on Friday, and it's kind of slow, but he makes the cut, makes some 5 birdies on the back 9 on Saturday, and then all of a sudden there's a 63 in there. When you know what your chances of putting together a great round dramatically increase when it's not left up to chance, and when you actually know what's going on with your golf game, the likelihood of a great round goes up, and it can happen every week. I think that's why you've seen some great improvements in his iron play, which we've seen I would say gradual improvements, but everything's just gradually getting better and more consistent. So I love what I'm seeing out of Robert MacIntyre. Of the guys that aren't holding a trophy, he's a big-time winner this week for me.
Yeah, he put up such a great stat line. I think he was top 35 in all 4 major categories. He was led with phenomenal ball striking. He was positive around the green. He was positive with the putter. It was a really good sign, and hopefully of things to come. Mina, let's see that leaderboard again here, because I'll focus on the big 3 that really ended up deciding this championship. Patrick Rodgers is still looking, Greg, for his first PGA Tour victory. He finished with a 5 under 65, but he's going to fall a couple of shots short, which is a feeling he's certainly getting used to, though I'm sure he's gutted every single time it happens.
Yeah, this is disappointing. No, at least he could fall back. You lost by 3. If you lost by 1, it might hurt a little more, but you could leave here just feeling like you just simply got outplayed, and that would be understandable. Although if you look at Patrick Rodgers' stats, and we've actually even talked to him about this, he tends to hit a lot of greens in regulation, but he doesn't hit it very close. He's a little conservative with his iron play. And he came out of the gate today, and on the front 9, he hit 5 approach shots inside of 15 feet. He hit it left of a left hole location in there close, right of a right hole location in there close. He was really hitting some high-quality iron shots, and you see it, and wedge shots, and it turns into a 31 on the front 9. Well, on the back 9, he didn't hit anything inside of 15 feet, and only 1 shot inside of 20 feet. So all of a sudden, it's like the old MO kind of comes out. He's hitting the greens, but too far away. He's not taking on shots, or failing to execute if he is trying to take them on, and he's missing them into the middle of the green. So he just didn't get himself close enough to the hole to make any run. That's a great strategy when you're leading, but it doesn't work quite as well when you're chasing.
You wonder at some point, I'll have to look this up, but every time I pull, guys without win, most starts without win, best players without wins, Patrick Rodgers is like 300 and some odd starts. And I wonder how much over the 10 years he's been a professional, and to even keep your card that long is an incredible feat. I wonder how much the process or the strategy or the mindset has changed, if at all, Greg. Like what you're talking about is like, you're feeling these things. You are trying not to make mistakes, trying not to put your foot on the pedal too much, but at the same time, you have to try to play to win. You know what I mean? It's this really weird, awkward scenario for a guy who has yet to accomplish it. I wonder how often he lays in bed and thinks, my God, maybe I should just try something completely different.
It's a really interesting thought. You look, he's in this place where in the FedEx Cup standings, like the last 3 years, he was 49th, 54th. Last year, he was 64th. Top 70 make the playoffs. And I think there's a time where it is your job and you want to keep it. And so it's hard to make big changes. There's a lot of risk involved in that. And you haven't accumulated the success because you haven't won. So it's not like you're Rory McIlroy. Rory McIlroy has kind of some freedom to put new irons in play like he did this week. He can try things. If it doesn't work out, there's no pressure other than pressure that he puts on himself, other than like major championships. He can be risky. You look at Patrick Rodgers, I wonder if he feels like, hey, if I try to play more aggressive and I start missing cuts, I'm going to lose my card.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of hard to jump off the lily pad. He knows that he's not very aggressive into the greens. I don't know if he thinks that that's the difference in success. I know he thinks he's a very good putter. He's still using a blade putter. I think that's evidence that he thinks he's a great putter. That's why he hasn't changed like so many have to a mallet. So I'm very curious to see maybe a third place. He ends up tie in third.
Yeah, 990 FedEx Cup points.
Yeah, does that help? Does that give you a little freedom to maybe go for broke a little more for the rest of the year?
And you got to think. So he was 62nd in the FedEx Fall. Now with the new turnover, trying to get into those first two signature events, that solo third is going to go a long way, especially because Chris Gotterup, who finished above him, and Ryan Gerard, who finished above him, are both in all the signature events already. So for all intents and purposes, Patrick Rodgers is leading the swing five, right?
Yes. Because Gerard and Gotterup were top 50 last year.
Right.
So he's leading the swing five, and I guess A on swing 10 goes back through the fall.
Yeah, so he just missed out on, he was 62nd, so he just missed out on the 10, next 10.
So swing five. I'd have to look up the official standings but it should be.
We should not. Okay, I agree that I also have to look up, but we shouldn't have to, right? It should be easy enough to know, like,
especially week one.
Yeah, like none of it makes any sense. That's a conversation for a different day. Patrick Rodgers is off to a very, very good start in 2026 and is likely to play the two signature events, I imagine. Speaking of good starts in 2026, speaking of good finishes to 2025, let me just recap you Ryan Gerard's last couple of months here. So makes a run into the FedEx Cup playoffs and ends up finishing 39th in the FedEx Cup standings. So that gets him into all the Siggies for 2026. Now, his OWGR, however, Greg, was lacking. He was outside the top 50 at year end, and top 50, of course, gets you an invite to the Masters if you're inside the top 50 at the year end OWGR. So he goes over and plays in Mauritius in Africa, finishes second there, gets enough gets enough OWGR points, gets his invite to the Masters. This dude he's got 2026 set. And now he comes out first week of the year, finishes strong 68, 65 on the weekend, birdies 4 of his last 7 holes, including both 17 and 18, puts up some really great advanced metrics. I'm buying the Ryan Gerard, like, I don't want to say breakout, right? He's not going to become Scotty Scheffler. He's not going to become Tommy Fleetwood or whatever, but I think we are going to get a sizable step forward from Ryan Gerard.
Yeah, the possibility is really there. And you like the way he does it, right? Kind of a team no-putt guy, top 30 TD Green player, outside the top 100 in putting last year. And that gives you a solid base. Then you come out and putt pretty well like he did this week, at least for the last 3 rounds. And all of a sudden you have this great performance and you could win. And if you really look at it, Rick, you never really look at these kind of things, but I look at holes 6, 7, and 8. He missed a 5-footer at 6 for par. He missed a 6-foot, I guess we'll call that 7 feet at 7. And he had another great look at 8 from 12 feet. You make 3 of those makeable putts, and this looks very different heading into the back 9. It's just a little stretch on the front 9. So put himself in position. We talked about it on Friday night. He was leading the field tee to green, ends up finishing second in that category. But you got to be really impressed with him. The strong suit of iron play is a good thing going forward.
Yeah, I love where he's at. I think there's a lot of good stuff coming for him, and I could say the same for your 2026 Sony Open champion, Chris Gotterup, now a 3-time winner on the PGA Tour. This 65 that he shot in the final round, I'm going to use the word majestic, Greg, because he does a lot of fun stuff that you don't see other guys do on the golf course. We saw him hit some of these low stingers all week long in the wind. And then if he wants to, he can take it high and cut dog legs and just mash it through everything. Big, strong guy, lots of swag to him. And then when he gets the putter rolling, he looks like he's nearly unstoppable. And that's what he did over the course of this Sunday final round.
Well, the driver, which you mentioned, is really this week, that was the difference maker. Well, this day, that was the difference maker. He gets the lead on the front. It was somewhere on the front 9 when he got the lead. It was around the time when you saw the struggles with Davis Riley. So maybe he made birdie at 7. Would that have gotten him the lead? It was somewhere around there.
It was. It had to have been right around there because that. Yeah, with what Riley got off to a good start, they made. Yeah, I think that's probably about right.
So that's again, like I said, late in the front 9. He missed the fairway at 9, but that's the only fairway he missed after having the lead, and he still made birdie at 9. It's a par 5. He hit the rest of the fairways, every one on the back 9. You listen to these distances: 357 at 8, 359 at 12, 342 at 13, 337 at 14. These are high, they're low, they're not really in places where a lot of guys, there are dog legs. He's cutting dog legs. He's getting a huge advantage. What was it? I guess it must have been number 13, 400, 500-yard par 4. That's a little dog leg right. Mm-hmm. He ends up with 159 in. I mean, everybody else has two. I saw Daniel Berger had 220 in there. He's got 159. And then if you're listening to the broadcast, there's a little nitpicking about the wedge play. But
oh yeah,
those bad wedge shots, quote unquote bad wedge shots. Some of them were bad, and he said as much. But those bad wedge shots are better than a shot you're going to hit with an 8-iron in there.
I was going to say, yeah, when those guys are hitting 7-iron from 200 and something yards, a bad wedge is way better than a good 7-iron.
And you're just not going to make a bogey.
Right.
So that's how you end up going out and hitting all the greens that he hit. He hit 16 of 18 greens and should have been more. He missed a green from 163. Probably didn't love that iron shot at 15. Got it up and down. But it's so hard to make a bogey when you're driving it that long and straight.
I think he chunked his approach on 18. You know how he like laid they said on the broadcast he laid up. I think he just completely chunked it. I don't know. He does not seem like the layup kind of guy on a par 5 with a 2-shot lead and who hits it a country mile, and he just kind of laid it 60 yards back to an awkward number. I don't think so. I think he got a little nervy. I think he chunked it.
Wow. Well, I mean, I could buy like maybe he chunked it. It was a partial layup, like you just hit your favorite club kind of thing.
Yeah. That makes more sense than laying up to 65 yards.
I think it was 69 officially.
On a hole with like not much trouble to get into, just bang it off.
No, right. You just hit it up there and it's going to be fine. I don't know what happened, but that's the fortune. That's what you earn when you play the way you do.
That's right. Yeah, you get the benefit of being able to do that because you've got this thing locked up. So Gotterup now 3 wins, Greg. So he wins Myrtle Beach. He wins the Scottish Open. He almost went back-to-back. He finished 3rd at the Open. And then now starts off 2026 with the Sony Open Championship. It's always easy for us to sit here on Sunday night and say, oh, man, Chris Gotterup's going to win 5 times this year. He's going to make a deep run in the FedEx Cup. If it was a Ryder Cup year, we'd be saying he's a lock for the Ryder Cup team, right? We'd be saying all these things. Let's try to remove the fact that we just saw him kind of annihilate Waialae on Sunday. What is the ceiling? What's like the best case outcome for Chris Gotterup here in 26?
Well, first and foremost, I know it's not a Ryder Cup year, but now you know why the U.S. lost the Ryder Cup.
Unbelievable. He was not.
No, I say that jokingly. I think that kind of conversation is so funny. But at the same time, that run that he went on last summer is almost validated in a way. You know, it's like, okay, well, you got hot in links golf. You played great, and you came up short because you're kind of wondering if it's real or is this just a hot streak? Then you go through an off season and you don't play and you come out right out of the gate and kind of dominate. It's pretty high praise. With that driver working the way it is, he's competitive with the big boys. You know, you've seen him take down Rory in a Scottish Open. So next time he gets into a situation like that, I don't think he's going to blink. Question is, how often does he put himself in those situations? This is a really high caliber game. You saw the putter get hot today. We've seen it get hot before. He's capable in that sense. I mean, why couldn't this guy go win a major championship? I think he came in 3rd in the Open last year, the last major we've seen. So the ceiling is extremely high. 3 wins and a major would be, I would say, the best case scenario.
Okay, let's play trivia. I'm pulling up this right now. All right. So now that is Chris Gotterup's 3rd win since May 12th of 2024. So May 12th of 2024. He's got 3 wins. Who are the other golfers, Greg, on the PGA Tour to have at least 3 wins since then?
Okay, well, Scotty and Rory.
Wait. Correct.
Okay. I should have separated those. I could hear the noise. Ben Griffin.
Correct.
Since May of 2024.
There's 2 more. Chris Gotterup and 2 more.
PGA Tour only?
PGA Tour, and then, of course, that it also includes majors.
Okay. Well, I don't believe it's not Hideki. I was thinking maybe Hideki with the win at the Hero. I don't believe it's him. So we got all at 25. Who are the multiple winners in 25? Oh, Keegan Bradley?
I'm glad you got one wrong so I could use that.
Yeah, that really amps up the pressure. So Keegan won before that in 24.
Yeah, so he's got, his are always more spread out than you think they are. It's like one a year, but they're always like spread out.
Right.
Every June.
All right. Who else?
All right. First off, Hideki is one of them. So he won Hero, Century, and then he won the St. Jude in August of 24. And then the one you missed, Xander. Xander had the 2 major championships.
And the Zozo.
He just won the Zozo. Yeah. There you go.
Xander, sneaky. He's like going to be a forgotten guy this year.
Big time. Scotty, Rory, Hideki, Xander, Ben Griffin, now Chris Gotterup. 3 wins since exactly May 12th, 2024, my completely arbitrary date that I chose to make Chris Gotterup look very, very good. Mina, show me that leaderboard again, if you could, because there were some interesting names, some guys that made moves. You know, we've got Daniel Berger inside the top 10, Jake Knapp, T11. Hideki made a really good run on the weekend with rounds of 65 and 67. What do you see on this board, Greg, that jumps out at you? Anything? I can scroll down if you want to. I've got
well, Daniel Berger's a great place to start.
Yeah.
He has been, he wasn't really like this before his injury. What's so interesting about Daniel Berger is when he came back from his injury over the last few years, he's hit it fine, but he hasn't been able to putt at all. I was looking at this earlier over the last couple of seasons. I want to say he was 135th in strokes gained putting on the PGA Tour last year. And the year before, 135th and 163rd the year before that. Whereas tee to green, he was 27th and 23rd in those 2 years. So not really what I would expect coming off of a back injury to just lose the putter entirely. And he kind of did, but we saw a great putting week out of him this week. He gained over a shot in 3 out of the 4 rounds. Ends up gaining 3.6 strokes putting. I think that's a big deal and a really good sign for Daniel Berger.
Yeah, I like that too. I'm cautiously optimistic because I've been, trying to be early on Daniel Berger for a year now. But I would love it if he got back to. He was like a top 10 player in the world at one point.
Yeah. 2020, that COVID year, he was on fire. He beat Colin Morikawa at the Charles Schwab. He was so skillful. It was very impressive.
I'm scrolling through. So we're still working on this dashboard and everything. So our faces are next to our pick. So Mina won the one and done this week because she had Hideki Matsuyama. He ended up finishing T13. I had Ben Griffin, T19. Greg and Mark both had JJ Spawn, T40. The big names didn't really show up this week.
Nope. And you kind of, maybe that's disrespectful to Chris Gotterup. Maybe that's how you become a big name. MacIntyre is a top player, maybe not a top name, but definitely a top player who showed up. But the guys like Spawn, Henley, if I didn't go Spawn, I would have gone Henley, and he tried to miss the cut. But he would have been a better play. I think he tied with Ben Griffin. I think he ended up at T19 as well.
Yeah, he rallied to make the cut and then had himself a pretty decent weekend. He is right here, T19. Yeah, that 5-way tie for 19th or whatever.
So
it is. 270.
We could have made some better decisions in the one and done, but this is tricky when you're looking at the strategy of that. You posted something about the winner of last year's contest.
Yeah.
You need to hit on the big weeks.
Yeah. The good news is two things. There's 30 events to go, and this was not a signature event because I hate to say this. It's kind of all that matters.
Yeah. So, did I make a mistake? Because I'm optimistically thinking now, it's not a signature. But, why would we even go close to picking a top player in non-signature events? Should it just be like dart throws? Like, take Jacob Bridgman next week at the Amex?
Honestly, that's probably a good play. I've got some nuggets about next week. We'll get to in a second. So we have 5,556 people in the one and done. Guess how many took Chris Gotterup?
19.
That's actually a very good guess. 33. So that is 0.5% have taken Chris Gotterup and have gotten 1.63 million. Now, we mentioned this on Friday's show. If you missed Friday's show, there's a link in the description. Armina made a little avatar, a little second cut avatar that if you update your Splash avatar, we will be able to see you as we scroll through here. So 33 with Chris Gotterup, 3 sickos, actually including Dan Rappaport, with Patrick Rodgers, $991,000. Getting $991,000 from Patrick Rodgers is grand larceny.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that is, part of my thing is, like you said, there's 30 events left. So you're talking about 31 weeks. I'm trying to take like the top, if you're not like a top 50 guy, you're not even on the radar.
I'm just never taking you.
Right. It's not worth it. I'm not going to do it. I'm trying to take the top 40 players. Closest I can get to the top 31, the better. To pull Patrick Rodgers out of the hat and nearly make $1 million it's sick.
It's very good. I'm just kind of scrolling through and seeing Russell Henley was the most selected, 10.5%. JJ Spawn 8.5%. So nobody was overly popular. Again, you might have to refresh, but that link for the avatar is in the description. Get it in there so we can see you on the board. Any other Sony Open thoughts?
What'd you think of Spieth?
I don't know, man. I think it's weird. On paper, like there's so much reason to think that Spieth is going to have a good year, or at least a better year than he's had in the last couple of years with the, hopefully he stays healthy. There was some good stuff that he did with the driver when he was dealing with the wrist injury. There's a lot of stuff to be excited about. And then you watch him play and he's not a kid anymore. So like the old married couple shtick between him and Michael Greller is like more exhausting than it's ever been. It's not, I feel like it used to be cute. It used to be cute when they did it. Now it seems like they just hate each other. I just can't. Like it's just a tough watch now. I don't know why. I used to think it was very cute, and maybe I've just grown out of it. I don't know.
Well, it also, watching that for a guy that's in 34th place is different than watching a guy try to win.
Yeah.
That's another factor. So I understand that. But to that point, it just does not look easy at all. But everything is okay. There's not, for a couple of years there with Jordan, there was glaring weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
It would just jump off. Now there's no glaring weaknesses, but nothing's good enough.
There's a comment here from Joseph Bosa, Mina, that says, does Jordan hate Hawaii golf, or does he need to start caring? I think he needs to stop caring. I think he cares way too much. I think every discussion is paralysis by analysis. I think he, going to the towel as often as he does is some tick that he is working through. He needs to stop caring. I'm afraid he cares too much.
It's not a crazy thought. Just let's just make this simple. Right. That's what I think needs to happen. We're just going to take 2 numbers. We're going to pick a target. We're going to hit the shot. Not everyone's going to be perfect, but I bet you if you go play with him in a money match, he's totally different.
Oh, I'm sure.
And probably a world beater.
Oh my God. He probably makes more money in those games than he does on tour.
Yeah. Yeah. I get the sense that there's a big difference between those two environments, and maybe you could take a little from the money game style, see how it works out on tour.
Have you heard of Scotty Scheffler?
I have.
Okay. He's playing golf next week. he's going to play the American Express. He is going to be, actually, I saw the odds already. He's like 2.5 to 1 to win that event. It's actually a pretty strong field. There's a decent field in it. Will Zalatoris is going to be making his PGA Tour debut since the PGA Championship, though he did play on the DP World Tour. There's a lot of good names, but this is that little nugget I was saving for you, Greg. This is long shot season, okay? The average winner of the American Express in the last 6 years is 150 to 1. The average winner is 151. The only tournament with longer average winner odds is the Wyndham Championship, which is like 158. So this is, and it makes perfect sense. 3 courses, the mega full max field, amateur partners annoying everybody out there for the week. Just like, it's chaos out there. It's still early in the year. It's long shot year.
And there's no condition difficulty at all, right? You're playing in a dome. So there's a ton of birdies, a ton of wedge shots, and everybody can hit wedge shots. So really hard to separate yourself. So what did John Rahm call it? A putting contest.
He said something else, Greg.
I'm not going to say that here.
Hold on. He said, hold on. He said it was he said, oh man, this is a putting contest.
that was worth the wait. That was worth the wait. So yeah, putting contest opens things up to everybody. And I don't like Scotty Scheffler in these kind of weeks. I know he won at 31 under this year, but it just feels like you could play great and not win. Feels like the strategy is out the window. There's no rough. I mean, we'll get into all these details, but yeah, long shot season.
This is there are, I think, 3 events in which Scotty Scheffler has played 5 or more times and has not won, which is crazy. There's only 3 of them. Here,
yeah,
Riviera, and I think the other one is TPC Southwind. And
oh, that makes sense.
It's kind of surprising he hasn't won that, but yeah, I think those are the only 3.
Yep, Riviera. I wonder if that's like the Tiger Woods thing. Tiger never won at Riviera.
Oh,
also interesting.
Keep getting deeper.
So this one makes sense. Like if he never won here, it would make total sense to me. But he always plays, so maybe one year he gets hot, catches fire. Who knows? Maybe it's this year.
I think John Rahm won here when he was like the big time favorite, but otherwise it was Nick Dunlap, Andrew Landry, Hudson Swafford.
I want to say Rahm was in a playoff or coming down the stretch at least with Andrew Landry.
Yeah, Landry's had a couple of like runs here. I think did he beat Phil here one year?
That might have been the year that he won. It very well could have been.
I think you're right. Speaking of dome golf, TGL is back at it, Gregors, and this is one both teams need. This is Jupiter Links, LAGC. They're both 0-1, and in a short season like TGL has, you got to get it going early and often. Lineups are out. See Tiger Woods in the bottom left there. He will not be playing. It's going to be the other 3.
He'll be there.
He'll be there, right? It's actually going to be Homa, Akshay, and Kisner going up against Justin Rose, Colin Morikawa, and Sahith Theegala. I can tell you right now, and I did just look, but I didn't have to. LAGC is a pretty sizable favorite in this. They're minus 165, which makes sense to me.
It does. You have the Kevin Kisner, the weaker player here. I mean, if we were playing in a PGA Tour event on a real golf course, I think you would choose LAGC in this one as well. But TGL is tricky because you never know what exactly is going to happen. And, Kevin Kisner could hole a bunker shot instead of rifling one off the flagstick. Akshay Bhatia, very, very talented. Maybe Justin Rose, that putter that we saw at the Ryder Cup, cools off a little bit on the indoor turf, although it hasn't happened much. So a lot can happen. I think this is kind of like the Amex, Rick, that Dome Golf. Anything can happen. I think that LAGC is the rightful favorite, but it's far from over.
Yeah, I think LAGC. I picked them to win the whole thing before it started, so I'm gonna can't start 0-2. Can't start 0-2. We got it. We got
It's like the NFL playoffs. You don't make the playoffs if you start 0-2.
Well, in the history of TGL, I bet that's true.
Likely true.
The other thing is, you're right. What I have found about these TGL matches is kind of what you're saying, where like 3 shots decides the entire match. It feels like, you know what I mean? There's a lot of guys playing from similar positions. It's like, who's going to make that 15-foot putt? Who is going to stuff one to kick in range? And there's just these like 3 big moments that turn the tide. And because you're getting, alternate shot, or then like you're getting singles and one guy might be the weaker. It's just like these few moments decide the matches, I think, more frequently than I was expecting before the start of last year, which I guess makes it exciting, but it makes it harder to handicap.
It can happen early in the match. It can happen at any point in the match. And, with the hammer, especially, one of those shots, like an approach shot, can win a hole because you throw the hammer and the other team they just can't take it.
Just can't take it. Right.
So they give it, we're going to pick it up from here. So it makes those shots much more important. If you can hit one in there to 6 feet, the other team's at 9 feet.
Right.
You can kind of bully your way into winning a point.
Yeah, you can steal. Yeah, if you're at like a spot where you're like 60% to get it in and they're like 30% to get it in, you can basically just steal a point.
Yeah, because they're probably not. They're not gonna. It's not smart to take it.
Right.
So I find that to be really interesting, and it makes it hard to handicap. Like, if I know Kevin Kisner's a great putter, but let's say your weak putter is on the green, you can play around him if you hit a couple key pivotal shots. So yeah, I understand why the odds say what the odds say, but I think it's little, there's a lot of golf left to be played, so to speak.
SoFi Center in West Palm Beach, American Express in Palm Springs, and Dubai, the Desert Classic in Dubai. Got the globe covered next week. Greg, I love putting you on the spot for just unanswerable trivia questions. So, would you like to guess the number of miles between Palm Springs and Dubai?
I would love to.
Perfect. I would love you to as well.
This is one of those where you are so open for embarrassment.
I know, that's why I asked the questions. Because
like, how many? Yeah, I don't even have the starting point of like, I don't know how wide the Atlantic Ocean is. I have no clue. If you told me it was 35,000 miles wide,
don't say 35,000.
I'd understand it. I just said there's no reference here.
All right, how about this?
All right, I'll say this.
I hope
it is
outrageous.
4,319 miles.
All right, it's not. That is not. That's
even
not
close.
Embarrassing. That's with. At least you didn't say like 500,000 miles or something like that. All right, it's 8,300. So double it, and
all right,
it was respectable. It was fine, but we've got the globe covered. Everybody who's anybody is playing golf somewhere next week, so I'm looking forward to it, Greg. It's just gonna be a good one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. Tomorrow I'll get digging into the Amex research. I can't wait for that. And the DP World Tour is going to be fun too. It's great having that on in the morning. We want to see some chaos, like we saw today, by the way. Always chaos on the DP World Tour.
It is always chaos, and it doesn't even matter. It's guys who like Shane Lowry should not be able to make a double from where he made it. It just doesn't matter who you are. If you're on the DP World Tour, you're going to choking away.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. Every week it happens.
Nuts.
Okay. We'll be back on Tuesday next week. That's the Mega Preview Pod. Friday, Sunday for your halfway and final round recaps. Links for everything that you need are in the description. But we'll keep it rolling. Big thanks to producer Mina. She does all the hard work behind the scenes. Greg DuCharme. I'm Rick Gehman. This is The Second Cut. See you on Tuesday.